What's going on, Minties? This is the Uncanny Omar, and with me is my lovely co-host, the
Thank you.
mighty Maddie.
We're trying out the username or the nickname. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see if it
Trying
sticks, right?
Trying out.
Down and also with me is missing in action. This guy down here, Lou from Comics Guide 101.
Hey, how's it going? Had to get my phone real quick.
All right, and then down here, this man needs no introduction. This is the Omnidog. He's here.
Heyo.
He's wearing his dog mask. So we're here to talk about X-Men. And I have warned these people ahead of time that I am ready to geek out. I had so many nerdgasms reading issue 2
He's
of House
caught
of
the nerd flu.
It was bad. But, we'll talk about it, but we need to jump right into it because there's a lot to talk about just in House of X too. So there is a contest that we'll be holding for some variants. I'll ask a question. And throughout the weeks as we do this, we're going to be doing this bi-weekly. So every time House of X drops, so I guess we'll be skipping a week. We'll come back and do a review of House of X and House of X 3 and Powers of 10 3. So when Powers of 10 drops is when we'll be doing the review. So yes, there is a giveaway of not just Powers of 10 variants, but also Gwenpool variants, and I'm going to put a bundle together for people that win tonight, and that's going to be scattered throughout the next weeks. So just keep an eye on the channel or keep an eye on this segment. Without further ado, let's talk about... I'm so excited!
Omar's big nerd.
Shut up!
Ouch.
You have no idea how many years I've been waiting for X-Men to be good again. Not good, great. All right.
I think he needs a more outlet right now. You're drilling a little bit, buddy.
I got to keep it together. All right. Let's talk about House of X2, The Uncanny Life of Moira X or 10. We don't know yet. So, we got this amazing revelation. By the way, there's going to be spoilers. We can't do not spoilers. We can't, because like right off the bat, we got to start talking about this. So, are you all familiar with this character? Lou,
No.
Maddie, Omnidog?
I am, yes.
So in the
No.
616 no. Okay. So really quick, she is a human ally to the X-Men. She's been in movies. And she has been Professor Xavier's kind of like right-hand person.
Right.
Through all these years. Like she herself had a mutant kid named Proteus. It's the very first time we saw Wolverine show fear in his eyes was when they fought Proteus. Okay. And then she died. She died during the Dream's End crossover. She was Mystique was trying to release the mutant legacy virus. I don't know if you'll remember that from the 90s into the human population. And Moira was like, "No, you can't do that," and she died in the process. But did she die? I don't know. Now she's had a love thing with Charles and also Banshee. So she's also Scottish. Yes,
Thanks.
Scottish. So very important to know that fact.
Is it really?
No, not at all.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so is everybody caught up with who she is? She's a human ally, right?
I've heard of her before, and I remember her from the movies, but that's about the extent of my knowledge on her.
And again, spoilers, because we're about to jump into something huge.
Now, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Are we talking about House of X
Jesus
or
Christ,
Powers?
we're talking
is
about
Powers
House
or
of...
Powers of 10?
Okay, we were talking about House of X first, and then we can jump onto...
Because I wondered
Powers
if
of 10.
Powers of 10 referred to her 10 lives that she's
Well,
supposedly living.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that and speculate.
Now, okay, so I just want to make sure we're clear. I wasn't asking what comic we were talking about. I do know what comic we're talking about.
Okay. I'm sorry,
think-
Jess. I was just jumping.
Yeah, so just relax. I know you're excited.
I'm really excited. Why aren't you people as excited as I am? Damn it. All right.
We have lives.
I do too. And it's all about Moira right now. Okay. So we'll talk about this. And the huge revelation is that she herself is a mutant. And we didn't know that. And how you find out is a really unique way. So the very first chapter, it starts with her living her life. at the age of 13, she fell ill and then developed mutant powers. She lives to the ripe age of 74 and dies. She marries, has kids, and then dies at 74. And then she is reborn into a fully sentient being. So in the womb, she remembers everything from her previous life. And that was life number 1.
Mhm.
Life number 2. Now, let's talk about life number 1 really quick. Because that's just your, run-of-the-mill life, right? Like that's living the life. Kids, grandkids, and you live to be 74. She didn't know she was a mutant. And she also, I wonder if, because she's always been this ally for mutants. So I wonder if he was even aware of the mutant situation, or if in this timeline, which we're talking about timelines, because how could we not? Were there ever any sentinels and things like that were going after the mutants, or did she just not care? So that's one thing that I noticed. And then as I reread this, 'cause I read this 3 times, I was like, man, I'm really liking her character. She is kind of not a nice person.
Well,
I
it
think she's
seems
nice.
like
She's been through a lot.
Right. But
well,
it gets
it's-
so different. All right, go ahead, Louis.
I was going to say, it seems like her actions are the direct correlation of all the different events that happen in every single timeline. Without her, those actions never occur. Hence the reason why you have in that first timeline, she just lives to a ripe old age and dies. She doesn't meet Charles Xavier. Apparently, the school doesn't get open, and a whole bunch of other events don't kick off. So okay, so I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit high while reading this. So, surprising. So she is the linchpin of basically these 10 timelines. Without her and her influence, the timeline just breaks apart.
Well, yes, but does it? Okay, so I like to we'll get into a little speculation too, because from this moment that she is creating alternate timelines now, right?
She's a fixture in time. She is a point in time.
But does that mean that each Moira can do separate things and then create different timelines from that point?
I'm not certain because I don't know if this follows the same rules that time travel does, or if this follows something separate.
Comic book science
You know,
follows any rule the writer wants.
Like normally if we saw a situation like this, we would assume that every time she's reborn into a different parallel universe or timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we would normally assume, but I don't know if that's how this works. Like, because if you were to travel through time and change something every time, due to comic book science, you're creating more universes for the multiverse.
Okay.
She's not reincarnated in the way we think of reincarnation, like live 70 years, die in 2055. She's born again, live 10 years, 2065, she's born again. She keeps getting reborn at the same fixture in time because she keeps meeting Charles at various points. I mean, at the same point, she decides to talk to him. She decides not to talk to him. She decides to love him. She decides to open a frozen custard stand with him, whatever she decides to do. She's doing all kinds of things with him, but it's at the exact same point she's reincarnated.
Mm-hmm.
Like a longer Groundhog Day, basically.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to clarify something too. I know that there's been a lot of things on social media about him supposedly plagiarizing the 15 Lives of Harry. I've never read the book, so I don't know. But we talked a little bit about that, and I mentioned Groundhog Day, how the story, this particular kind of story has been around for a long time. Edge of Tomorrow, what was it, Triangle, stories very similar to this where people keep getting reborn and trying the same day over and over again, or I guess the same life over and over again. But I think it was all clarified that the author of that book was okay with Hickman doing this, and Hickman was like, yeah, this is our own thing, maybe you should check both things out. So anyway,
you're just groveling at Hickman's feet right now, aren't you?
Maybe.
I knew it.
My question is, so when she dies, does that reset the universe all over again, or does that timeline keep going?
Yeah, that sounds like it. Yeah.
Because we
don't
look at the chart, there is nothing past the point of when she dies.
Right.
That's the timeline at the end, right? Except
the end
for one
of the book.
except for one timeline, which we'll get to here in a little bit. So let's talk about timeline number 2. Life 2, that's when she realizes she's in the womb, that she's a mutant. And so she goes and tries to see Professor X at an earlier age. I think she was 13 years old. And unfortunately, she dies in a plane crash. Like, that was her life. That was life number 2. Quick, easy, sad. She is reborn again. And this is when it starts getting complicated. This is when it starts getting fun. So life 3, this is where she finds a cure for mutants. Right? And this is, I think, very important. This is, I think, one of the most poignant parts of the story is when you have Mystique, Destiny, and Pyro show up. Right? Now, it's important for a geek like me that has been reading X-Men for a long time, because these 3 have met at certain points. As a matter of fact, when Destiny got killed by Legion, Moira was there on Muir Island when all that happened. And if one were to look at little things, if she is dead, because we can also talk about that, about Destiny, man, he can shoehorn this story all the way into Claremont's stories, because there weren't a lot of things that were really clarified back then. But this is where Mystique is like, she has a conversation with Destiny. And this is where you find out that, yes, she will not get past the 10 lives, right? That's it. It's 10 lives, and once she's dead, she's dead. And then they burn her alive.
Slowly, so she remembers it.
Yeah.
With the threat that if she doesn't stop what she's doing or something like that, that they will go and kill her before she turns 13. That's a pivotal moment, because when she turns 13, that's when her mutant power activates. Before that, it's fair game. She can die, and that's it.
Yeah. So this is a pretty interesting moment, I think, because Destiny plays such a interesting part in the X-Men, even long after her death. I mean, there's the books of Destiny and things like that Rogue and the Extreme X-Men went to find, and you can even say maybe the narrator of this is the books of Destiny, the narrator of the book that we're reading here. So it's going to be really interesting once we get to the end, because that's when I kind of want to speculate. And then you have the next life number 4. This is where she marries Xavier, and it seems like things go right for the X-Men. You have, the original 5. You have what looks to be giant-size X-Men. I'm looking at my copy right now. And then you have the Phoenix 5. All the way up until the very end, which kind of looks like a Days of Future Past ending.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Days of Future Past is also important because that was Mystique and Destiny and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And, Moira was also there. So, pretty cool that he used that picture. I don't know if it was on purpose or not.
Oh, it was on purpose.
You think so? You think Hickman did all that research?
Absolutely.
I think
you
so,
don't think he did?
Oh, he absolutely did.
Of course he did.
All right. So then we get to Live 5. This is where she wants to be more proactive and she makes it to Xavier at a younger age, and this is where the Sentinels still come to their little utopia island. I think it's like an island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they end up destroying it and killing her in the process. All of this, by the way, is at the end of the book, which is really cool, which shows her timeline. And
so there apparently was a big typo in that. I haven't looked it up yet, but Hickman said there's a typo in the...
I looked it up. It was during the... Once I get to
small thing, you can miss it easily.
It was 2 years that were, I think, backwards or something. Because if you look at that timeline, the timeline is done in years, right? Like year 0, year... Thank you, Far Away. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had to pull up an article to keep it all straight because it's easier than reading that big, long thing.
Oh, I love the timeline. Because
I like it. I just don't have it physically.
The mistake that, writers in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and a little bit in the 90s were using years and ages. Like, Cyclops was like 18 years old in 1963. It's kind of impossible to do that with X-Men or comic books because they age differently than we do. So what they started doing like in the early aughts was not use years but just use ages and stuff. Like Batman has been Batman for 10 years. So I think it's pretty cool that they did this here. Like Moira was born in year 1 and then year 8 she enrolls at the Edinburgh Academy. Let's see what else happens that's it for year 5. That's where it happens.
Year 6 is the one that's omitted. So there's
that's really interesting.
And they skip over year 6. So
well, I'm looking at it now. She only didn't die in 2 timelines. There's a second timeline where she didn't die.
You talking about the big A timeline when we get to it?
Well, no, there's one where she's in a coma. It says year 43. Moira injured in a sentinel attack. Coma.
Oh, that's earlier, I think.
Yeah,
that's a different timeline. Yeah,
and then she ends up dying in year 44.
No, it doesn't say that. It just says genocide at Far Away.
Yeah, but that point in time is where she dies, though. So she died at the age of 44.
Yeah.
All the other ages are like that, with the exception of 2, because you're right. And of course, the omitted year 6.
So I'm sure that's going to come back because
absolutely,
purpose.
You know how many people are going to be upset if that doesn't come back?
Well, hopefully.
So year 6 is anybody's guess. It could be year 6 is that loophole to get us back to the Marvel 616 universe, which
it is curious because, because in year 6 nothing happens, but in year 7 she goes after the Trask family.
Oh, that's when she's a
so
badass assassin.
Why would she wait in between lives, right? Because it seemed like the next logical step after being murdered by the Sentinels, right, would be to go after the Trask family. But instead, something happens during that year, and that's not what she does first. So, because we look at this and it's like her next action is a direct result of the last past life,
Right, but and the thing. So, like Moira, it seems like she even mentions this is that when you're screwing around with time and like basic time travel and things like that, and a lot of works of fiction, you have certain. It's like Doctor Who. Doctor Who is always there. He's a fixed point in time, but the timeline can vary and break off in different little pieces. Moira McTaggart and the Sentinels are a fixed thing in time. The Sentinels will always show up at the end of every single event.
Yeah.
They're always there. And she mentions that no matter what they do, the Sentinels always show up at some point.
There always seems to be the human-machine war happening in year 100.
Right. It always goes down there.
I think that's when she finds out, even though... So this year is pretty important. So yes, you're right. Why is year 6... omitted? I think it's like I said. I think he might use it either as a loophole to get things back to the way that we know, or it plays a bigger role down the line, which we know it's gonna have to. Because in Life 7, when she is a badass assassin going after, like she is like Sarah Connor, Terminator 2, badass crazy assassin. She is killing Bolivar, Donald, Gwyneth, Simon Trask, all of them. They're all getting killed one by one, sniping.
I want that comic. I want to read that one.
Oh, there's going to be spin-offs with different writers doing this thing.
I want to read that so bad.
And then you have, the Sentinels they still come. So no matter what, these machines are still coming. That's why I guess I compared it to Sarah Connor, because the damn machines are still coming and killing all the mutants. And that is Life 7. And that's where she ends up getting killed after discovering the Master Mold facility in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when things start getting really interesting with Life 8. At least interesting to me, where she goes to the next step, right? So she goes and talks to Magneto. And she's like, I've tried all these things. I've tried with Charles. Let's see what Magneto can do. So this Life 8, she teams up with Magneto, and this is the Magneto that's like full of rage and anger. So I don't know at what point. I want to say based on the timeline at the end, because you're looking at this based on how old she is. This is year 24. I want to say that's right around the time that perhaps X-Men 1 was out. So before before the classic issue where he almost kills Kitty Pryde in 150, where he was like, oh, I can't do that. I can't kill a child. And he kind of starts going into that redemption path that makes him into a good guy by the time you get to the trial of Magneto in issue 200. So there's a couple of things about this that I find really interesting. One, when during an issue of Defenders in the Silver Age, Magneto gets turned into a child, a baby. Now, Moira takes that child and raises him. And this is why I want to say maybe she's not that good of a person. Because back then, and this is in the 616 universe, she tampers with his genetic code to make him into a good person. So when he is turned into an adult again, he is kind of crazy at first. So she knows how evil he can be. So I found that pretty interesting that she decides to go at this certain age, right? Like before Magneto had any chance of ever redeeming himself and becoming a good person. So that is a really cool thing.
I don't think she's a bad person. I just think that like people who go through situations like this, characters who go through situations like this, naturally choose these kinds of actions because they've run out of any other possibility. If you've lived, 7 lives so far, and you've done all the good you can do, and you try to do all these things and they don't work, and you're still living again, and the things still happen, and people are still dying, you're going to go join the bad guy, and you're going to see if his way works, and his rage and his everything else works for you.
So the Magneto,
natural thing.
The Magneto thing could be interesting because they established the House of M, right? So maybe there's this attraction with Magneto. I can buy that between her and Magneto. The next place where she goes, though, I was just like, what? I did not see that coming at all. Because Magneto at least has some. There is some good in him. So she dies at that time, and that was at the age of 38. She dies trying to break out of prison. This is the timeline that I find really interesting. This is life number 9.
Is this the one where Pharaoh Lad gives up his life to save Superboy? Oh, sorry. I blanked for a second and went to the
Dude,
universe.
Jess, you know what? Pharaoh Lad sucks, okay? There.
Oh, my God. I've lived 6 or 7 different lives, and this is the nerdiest conversation I've ever had in any one of them.
Says the guy that loves the death of Pharaoh Lad.
I think so. I think Philip's making a good point. It's like in Groundhog Day where Bill Murray just starts offing himself at one point. You get desperate to find anything that might change things. Now, Philip may have said this in a funny way, but that's exactly what happens. She's done everything else. It's like, well, fuck. All right, well, I'll try this. Let me throw something at the wall and see what sticks. Because at this point,
she literally went from trying to save her mutant race and to live to have a coexistence with the humans to this timeline where at 18 she awakens Apocalypse, and then at the age of 19 somehow in a year's time she's able to talk Apocalypse into killing Xavier. Damn.
Well, unfortunately, she can't cure the mutants, so what are you gonna do? and then the rise of machines is gonna happen regardless, anyways.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting. Not only kills Xavier at age 21, he kills Magneto at her age 21, or year 21 rather. And then I love this one. Year 24, Moira and Apocalypse rescue the first Horseman and return to Earth. They go to space to get the first Horseman because in the X-Men lore, the Horsemen of Apocalypse don't have to be mutants. They can be humans. They can be beings from other planets. So I thought that was really cool. I wonder, back then who they would have gotten. The Surfer. Anyway. And then they formed the X-Men and enslave Mr. Sinister. Like, she's going along with this, right? So rereading this, like, I was the same way with you guys. Okay, she is obviously like scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like, she's like, I've hit rock bottom. I got to do the worst thing. And I I mentioned that last. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Yes, highlighter. Yes, deserves it. It deserves it.
That's what's gonna happen when Jess takes over DC Comics.
That's right. When I take over near mint condition.
What the? Wait a minute there, Apocalypse. I'm talking about DC Comics.
Oh, DC?
Yes.
Yeah. DC, I'm going to absorb near mint condition into DC, and we're going to have you whore us all out for the absolute of Feral Lad. Yes, Death of Feral Lad.
All
and
right.
then the Ghost of Feral Lad, the best.
Sorry. And
Are
then,
we still on House of X2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, how could you not break this? This is the most fun I've had reading a comic book in a long time.
Because I got to be honest with you. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I must have not finished the book. I don't think I finished the book.
Dude, how could you not fit?
I don't remember her. I do not. I read all three of those books today, and I don't remember them going to space.
Well,
That's the timeline at the end. Jeff.
we're going pretty far in depth right now, too, because honestly, we could talk very quickly about all of these things to jump into.
Just looked at the timeline and said, "Nope, too nerdy for me," and shut the book.
Oh, I looked at the timeline, but I don't. That's okay. Okay, so that was on the timeline.
Yeah. You don't read that stuff?
I
Get
did
it.
read it. I glanced at it. I said, "Okay, this
That's
is the
not
timeline."
reading it. You glanced at it.
I mean, hey,
I'm a very quick
I did
study
too.
when it comes to glancing.
I made
This
sure
is
to
why
pull up
you
an
don't
article to talk about this. while we were-
I have it in front of me. Are you doing this off the top of your head? How many times did you read this, Omar?
Oh, I read this 3 times. No, I'm looking at my
Okay.
Marvel Unlimited digital copy I got. Because I got the physical one of Powers of 10. So the Apocalypse War happens, and this is the interesting timeline where we don't know if she dies. 'Cause I think this is what you were talking about, Luis, where there's these little arrows that just continue. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then we get to Life 10, right? And Life 10 is, one would assume from the narrative, that it's the beginning of issue 1, and then the beginning of this issue where she pretty much decides to tell Xavier everything. And where this is it. This is the final life. This is the last time that she can do anything. And according to Destiny, and she is going to break all the rules. And that's it. That is House of X2. We were almost done, Jess.
Okay.
So other than being confused, Jess. Other than being confused, what did you think of the book of House of X2?
I was fine with it until you just went to space. I thought everything was great.
I didn't go to space. I'm reading the book, man. Moran Apocalypse went to space.
I loved all of the extra lives and how she was reinserted back into the same point and created an extra timeline and all the different things she achieved and all the different ways she went about it. I thought it was really cool, but I did not follow you into space. That's my bad, I guess. I didn't follow the timeline. I just looked at the timeline and thought it was just a
lot of
repeat.
reading.
No, I thought it was just a repeat of what we read. I didn't know that it actually added to the book, and they went into space and found a fourth horseman or
I said that
horseman or
one
whatever.
time, dude.
What?
That happened once.
Oh my god.
The interesting thing about Life number 10, though, so she died, like I said, in the crossover Dream's End, right? So if this is the 616 universe, what the hell is going on? because this is the only timeline that shows that she had Proteus, her son. That she actually, because she is Moira MacTaggert in this timeline. This is the only timeline that it shows that she married what's his name, Joseph MacTaggert, right? And then had a baby with him, and that baby became Proteus, and that's what happened in those issues of X-Men.
And Destiny did say possibly an 11th life she might get.
Right. So could Hickman be messing with us, and the stuff that we're reading is actually her 11th life?
I think there's definitely a little bit of unreliable narrator. I think he's probably gonna try to pull the rug out from under us in the next few issues.
I don't know, man. I really like all the setup. I am completely okay with starting the slate clean with X-Men, and this is the way to do it. Because if you're starting the slate clean, you don't have to worry about all that backlog history. All you got to worry about is looking at this one timeline that just skipped. And I'm just kidding. Just the only timeline that matters then is life number 10. life number 10 is the only one that matters. All right, you know what, man? When Kelly Sue DeConnick writes the story of life number 9, where they go to space, and she brings back Captain Marvel, then you'll read it and be like, Omar, have you read this X-Men comic where Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers becomes War, and Squirrel Girl is death?
Squirrel.
I'm sorry, that's who's the one that Gwenpool? Gwenpool is death. This is the best thing ever. I will make fun of you. And remind you that was already written in this damn timeline. All right, Maddie.
Yeah.
What?
She's tuning out.
I feel like I'm teaching a class in code. Wake up.
I'm tired. I liked it. I really like this issue. You know, I don't have any previous experience with Moira, but I really like stories like this. So I was really happy about it. Like, I thought it was really interesting. I'm excited to see what they do with her. I wasn't expecting this kind of story with her, and I really don't know how it's going to fall in with Powers of 10. Because right now, the two seem... I can see how they're related, but they feel so far apart right now. So I have no idea how we're going to bring all this together and what's going to happen. I think she's really cool, and I think it's, interesting that we have parts of her life that are kind of open-ended. Or her lives, I guess. I'm interested in seeing how Hickman puts that all together. I like when Hickman focuses on one character at a time. So, yeah, I like this. I think it's really good.
I remember when we were reading Hick Vendors, you got kind of lost somewhere in the first act.
Because he does too much. He does
all
too much.
That time travel and all these characters are thrown. I think that's what's working with this, where there's only 8 characters in the future that we know of, right? Now, yes, he is jumping. And we'll talk about Powers of X here in a minute. Yeah. But as far as we know, based on that timeline that some people didn't read, or the...
You gotta drop it. We're gonna talk about the book.
Based on that, we only know that there's 8 mutants on that asteroid.
Yeah.
In the year 100. So there's not that many characters, as far as we know, except for, in the first issue where we're introduced to all these new characters, or these new kids. Okay, so right now I'm going to be giving away a lot of books, some variants, and I haven't forgotten about the Maximum or Absolute Carnage people that won last week. I'm going to mail you all some variants too, by the way. So, now, since this is a lot, it's not just 2 issues. I'm going to send you like 6 or 7 books. I'm going to ask a hard question, so everybody get ready.
Can we talk about Absolute Carnage? Because I'm way more interested in that now than that last issue of X-Men. Thank you, Omar. You have killed my entire excitement for this run.
You can go to hell. All right. The question to the chat. You got to be quick on the fingers. Or quick on Google, in case you don't know this. Who was the first person to call Wolverine by his name Logan, and what issue did it happen in? Real nerd question. Who's got the answer? Let's see it. That'll be the first winner of this lot of variants. It's kind of a hard one. Beta Ray Bill. Wrong. As a matter of fact, now you owe me money. You owe me money. Thor 330. Wait a minute. That's it.
Wow.
Yes, I knew we had some
damn.
X-Men people in the chat. That's right.
Holy
Uncanny
shit.
X-Men 103. And it was a leprechaun that called him that.
Wow.
It was at the
Comic books are so weird.
Cassidy Keep.
Things.
The Cassidy Keep. Yep, that's it. And Make Havoc, you owe me some money for saying that. Oh man. All right. So let's talk about Powers of X2.
Oh boy.
All right, give us a quick rundown there, Luis. What happened? What happened to Powers of X? I talked the whole time about House of X and the 10 lives of Damn It, Moira. So
10 lives of Damn It.
I went through every life, so you can do this really quick. What happened in freaking
God.
Powers of X2?
Thank God it's you and not me.
Honestly, I don't even know how to explain what happened in that book.
This got muddy, man. Like, okay. And we were talking about this before the stream starts. I really dig Hickman. I think he's a very great writer. But I think Hickman has a tendency to get up his own ass, and this is one of those cases where this whole issue would hear me out. This whole issue was simply put, it's plot. That is all this is for 20 plus pages. This is just him using all these characters as plot points. They don't even feel like real characters in this book, in this issue. For me, at least, it felt more like, okay, this is going to be 24 pages of just exposition dump. This is the stuff you need to know to set up the next few issues. That's what it felt like to me, and that's the thing that Hickman at times does this, and he gets to this point sometimes in his writing. And he, until this point, I was reading this and enjoying it, and he wasn't doing this, and he was striking a really good balance. But this was all due just exposition. Honestly, you get the first moment where hold on, like I read the summary. I read this 30 minutes ago, and I can't even summarize this.
So they start out with Moira joining up with Xavier, and they go up to Magneto, which is a great tie-in from the last issue, because that way you see them going, like, I'm glad they start off with that. Like, first you see them go to Magneto and say, hey, sup, I'm Moira. Can you look in my brain so I can tell you how you fucked up the last few times and how we all teamed together? And then that's the whole premise of the first year, right? And then we jump to year 10, where Nimrod is born.
Love that.
And I don't exactly understand what's going on there, but I know that that's what happens. I can't take myself seriously right now.
Also, Xavier definitely has his eyelashes threaded, because ain't no man got eyelashes like that.
I do want to point that out. Is it Xavier or is it Cassandra Nova?
Oh,
this whole thing could be Cassandra Nova,
like especially under the Maker's helmet, right?
Yeah, because that's a pretty thin little body under that helmet.
And Frank Quiley always drew creepy looking bald white women so well, and Professor X looked just like her. So I always thought. So that came to mind when I was reading the first issue, when I saw the big helmet, like what we call the Maker's helmet from Ultimate Fantastic Four. I was like, oh, that could be Cassandra Nova, maybe. But what I think the best part about this, I love the relationship between Scott and Professor X in this timeline, in this year 10. Like the whole thing about they have to go and destroy the space station that nobody even knows is supposed to be out there. And Magneto's like, can such a thing even be done? And man, my boy Cyclops is like, does it need to be done? Yeah. Then it's going to be done. Man, I'm like, that's what's up. That's what I miss. I miss that relationship between father and son. So I thought that was really slick. That was in year 10. So we know there's going to be a big, I guess, fight in the next issue of, I guess it could take place in House of X3. And then we jump into 100 years into the future, which is the Asteroid K. And we knew of some surviving members, but we didn't get to see the fourth one. And this is revealed who it is here. And it's Apocalypse, which was kind of spoiled if you saw the San Diego Comic-Cons, that he's going to be part of one of the new teams. I want to say, is it Excalibur? or Fallen Angels, one of those teams he's going to be part of. And yeah, and Wolverine is no longer Wolverine. I assume he's War, because that's what Apocalypse calls him.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool. And he's got that little chip that those mutants sacrifice their lives for. But did I mention? I know when we reviewed the first issue that I was like, I love the portrayal of Nimrod in this. He reminds me of the Age of Ultron from the movie, not the comic books. Like, almost has a comedic tone to him.
Yeah, and I think that's on purpose. I think he's definitely channeling that.
When he was like, "I don't believe you," and blows those two dudes away, I was like, "That's awesome."
It was pretty cute.
Can we talk about Cyclops? The Cyclops is built like a brick shit house right now.
Well, that's what happens, man.
That dude's been hitting the gym hard.
Yeah, man. That's what happens when mutants are allowed to live in their own little utopia.
Jesus.
So let's see what else we got, and then we have we find out who the other horsemen is. One of them is Zorn, which we kind of thought that was going to be, and then I guess the other one is Black Tom Cassidy, the tree, the Groot-looking guy. And you're right. This kind of works, especially when you're coming out of that big shocking moment of House of X2. This kind of works as a transition period, but we do get to find out, that what's it called? The Phalanx are still a big part of this.
Yeah,
that they ate the world mind, and there's a lot of other things here in the back that explain.
I did read that.
Okay, I wasn't calling anyone out.
Wanted to speak up first.
I didn't say I was. This is not like class.
You have to be preemptive. Okay.
I know. I needed to load that in first.
He knew I was coming for him.
Listen, Omar.
He knew I was coming for him.
I do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's neat, and I'm excited to see what they set up, but it reminds me a lot of reading through Hick Avengers and then going from really great character-driven issues to just like, here's a whole bunch of stuff. Don't think about it too hard. Like, what is this going on? Because it's just like, we had this great character-driven issue, and then we went to this, and it's just like,
who are these people?
It feels like a mess. It just feels like it's too much together, all these characters together, and it doesn't feel very sensible. Now, I know it's going to set up stuff later.
And maybe
I don't like issues like this.
And maybe that's a flaw in Hickman's writing, is that he just doesn't know how to balance that out that well.
He does not. He has a great bigger vision.
Right.
I think he just doesn't know how to balance everything throughout his storytelling.
Right. It's either one or the other. You get a few issues of great character development, and it's like, oh, fuck, I actually have to move the plot along. So here's a solid 30 pages of what you need to know for the next few issues.
I think he did that in Avengers with the time jump. That was one thing. That's one thing. Fantastic Four was a little more subtle, though. It wasn't like this, or I'm sorry, like Avengers. And I want to say this. That's what this kind of reminds me more of, with the alternate timelines and stuff. It's more of his FF run, and a little bit of East of West, but less of his Avengers.
He does it a lot in East of West.
Yeah, but it makes sense because it's his own universe. You're only dealing with that. You're not dealing with multiple universes with different characters from a company. So I thought this was a pretty fun issue. Now that I'm on board, and he said, and again, I go back to what he said. He said this is not a alternate timeline story, and it's not a time travel story. Now I'm starting to think that bastard lied to us, and it's a multiple timeline story, and it's a multiple different world story. That's a loophole, right?
It's possible. You know how he is.
What I'm curious about is, besides Moira and besides Xavier and now Magneto, does anybody else know the secret? Is there like an evil leaper? I always go back to Quantum Leap.
Well, I mean,
an evil version of Moira. Oh, that's it. Actually, that's Destiny.
She's a very important linchpin in this. I think she'll come back because, like, she knows how all this is going to unfold, and I feel like Moira, like, I'm sure he could have just put her there to keep Moira from doing any cures. They're like, okay, well, I want to take this out of the equation. Let's have Destiny be here. But a smart thing to do would have Moira's whole plan be to somehow circumvent Destiny's sort of ultimatum with her without her knowing. But I mean, it'd be a long roundabout way to do that. But I would love to see that tie back into that first issue.
That would be a really unique. Like, I didn't even think about Destiny. I was thinking more of Nimrod, but Destiny would make such a better choice to be the anti-Moira. You know, because she has this history with these characters, and maybe that's how they can be like, well, that's how she knows everything. It's because she's either lived all these lives or has absorbed everything from Moira.
Well, yeah, because I think if Moira has lived all these lives, the second that Destiny met Moira, from that point on,
which was in the third life,
there's
right?
a connection, I think. And so I think her mind must be constantly repopulating with like all of these sort of possibilities, because she already has all these possibilities in her head. But with Moira, there's got to be access to even more.
So what you're saying is that Moira, is Destiny Moira?
I don't say that. I just think that
another-
like their powers are complementary.
Well,
Okay.
Moira, I'm sorry, Mystique and Destiny are, well, they've always rumored to have been together, a couple. They have always been rumored to be Nightcrawler's mother and father too.
Yeah.
He gets a shapeshifter, right? So I wonder if that's also the reason that they're using Cardinal, the character that looks like Nightcrawler except he's red.
Maybe.
Jess, you look a little confused, my man. You got questions?
Nightcrawler's parents.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well,
I knew about that.
Jess, I don't know if anybody's told you, Jess, but shape shifting, you can shape
Rumored.
any part of your body.
I'm aware of that.
Oh,
Did
you are? Okay. I didn't know if you were or not.
Reproductive organs?
I didn't get that X-Men Encyclopedia version.
What the hell? I had not. You say rumor like
Because it's never
like
never
it's in
been
People
it's not
magazine
like
or
they have
something.
it's not like they have Thanksgiving dinner over, at Mystique's house. It's like it's what we X-Men
It's
fans
always
put together.
rumor.
Kind of like the way of who the lineage of Jon Snow was without the books being written. Like it's there, but the author never came out and said it, right?
Okay, dude.
I swear to God, I can't wait to review Pharaoh Lad with you, asshole.
It's a lot more linear than
It got muddy,
freaking-
dude. Just admit it. It got a little muddy. It did get a bit muddy.
What? Powers of X2?
Yes.
No, if anything got muddy was House of X2.
No.
That didn't confuse you, but Powers of X2 did.
No, House of X is very, very easy to follow.
Yeah.
I thought House of X was easy to
Yeah.
follow. I thought Power of
The
X was
space stuff,
just
right? Got
a
it.
little bit muddy, yeah.
Yeah,
And
Powers
now
of X-
I'm all for Klimt over Nightcrawler's heritage.
It's
I
a
just
rumor.
ordered an action figure of him. Now do I got to put Mystique and find a Destiny figure to stick with him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Families
That
have to
is-
stay together, Jess.
That is
Just-
weird.
You're-
That's just
you're like-
weird. I'm open to a lot of things, but that is weird.
You're such a bigot. You're such
I
a
am.
shape-shifting bigot.
I don't know.
I'm gonna come over to your house and you did the way in a manger, but it's all Nightcrawler Mystique.
Let's not forget Rogue either, the adopted daughter. She can come over
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving dinner. So what did everybody in the chat think before I do the next giveaway? What did you all think about these Powers of 10 and House of X issues? The next two. Just think. Look. Distribution rate.
I'm looking up articles to send Jess.
Please do.
Wait. With diagrams and pictures? Because I think he needs help with that too.
I'll read them. I promise I'll read them. If there's reading involved, I promise I'll read them all the way to the end.
I'd love for Gateway to show back up. And which Batgirl? That's the real question. Is it Batgirl Barbara Gordon? Or is it Cassandra Cain or Stephanie Brown? Thank you, Jess.
I'm going Huntress just because I don't see the other girls that way.
Okay. I'm going Huntress as well.
What was the question?
Who's hotter, Batgirl or Huntress?
I don't have access to the. Oh, all right.
I got you, Jess. I got you.
Thank you. Okay.
Answer the question, Jess. Pharaoh lad.
Batgirl 66.
Okay, that's a
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good choice, man.
A lot of like how the chat is not talking about X-Men. Now they're choosing who's hotter, Barber,
Are they choosing Batgirls now?
Batgirl, and Huntress.
They tuned out after the graphs.
I didn't even show. I had a damn timeline and everything, just like Hickman did.
Everyone's burnt out. Hickman. Every time anyone reads
What?
Hickman, they're like, I need a break.
No. Oh, guys, I am serious. I haven't enjoyed an X-Men comic this much since Astonishing X-Men. I was telling Maddie, I was like, I wish I still had a comic book shop that I can go and talk to a bunch of nerds about this stuff.
We've got comic stores to go hang out in.
I don't want to hang out at those shops.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I
I'm just kidding. I don't have the time to go up there. I would love to do it and just I don't know. Does anybody still talk comic books over there?
I
At comic
do.
book shops? Okay, besides you, and I talked to you, and you obviously were a little lost with House of X2 or Powers of X2.
I mean, I follow it okay. I just think that the information's not there to give to me.
Right. I agree
You
with
know
that.
what I mean? I think it's just like, okay, I see what you're doing, but it's just like you're just giving me a little bit, and I'm like, okay, cool.
I gotta highlight this really quick. What the hell? I literally broke down the damn life by life. Ban that guy.
That is a great
that guy.
chatter.
Wait, I got access to ban him. What the hell?
Oh god.
Who did Absolute Carnage with me? Jess and I did Absolute Carnage.
We
1.
did
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah, that was good.
You guys did it without me.
You had to
I
work.
wasn't able to.
You
But I
were
don't remember
working.
what was going on. Was it during the day?
Yeah.
No, it was at night.
No, it wasn't. It was during the day.
It was during the day, man.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know. You only do 400 shows a week. It was
I'm
during the day. like at
flabbergasted by
noon.
that comment about bad analyzing. I had a damn graph ready.
Omar's so sensitive. You know?
He is.
When it comes to X-Men, don't mess with me, damn it. Don't come in here and throw your gold balls at me. Zorn will rule the universe.
Who's Zorn? I don't understand.
Zorn
guy.
was the new X-Men character created
Yeah.
by Grant Morrison, who was the kind of the nah, never mind. If you haven't read it,
I'm looking it up.
I liked him, and then they retconned it.
He's got a cool jacket.
They all had cool jackets back then.
Mm-hmm.
That was during the new X-Men run. Zorn was Magneto. All right.
So, I read somewhere in the comments that the Powers of X is going to be back to back next time. What's next in our reading list for 2 weeks from now?
Let's look here. I got the timeline is right here. So it's pretty cool how he did this too. And this is the last time I talk about timelines because I don't know how y'all get.
I don't do timelines.
So you all notice here.
Yeah.
So the ones that are highlighted in red are like supposed to be the big issues, right?
Okay.
So House of X was the big issue. It looks like Powers. Oh, they're right. Powers of X2 jumps right into Powers of X3. So Powers of X3 comes out first, and then House of X3. So Powers of 10, whatever you guys want to call it, by the way.
Maybe
So-
we'll actually get a story. Maybe we'll get a story next week. That'd be nice.
I'm
Well,
curious
that's
as
what
to
somebody
what
in the
issue.
comments are saying, that they think that it was like this probably to set up the next two, since those are going to be back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Is that poor writing? I don't know.
Why would you say it's poor writing?
I hate issues like this.
Mm-hmm.
That continue into another
And
issue?
you know, no. Just like story dumps, and like I don't mind that other things, but it feels like I'm playing a video game where they didn't space out everything well enough, and then like, oh, you got your quest. Ooh, you've been doing other things. Here's all the story just dumped on you. I hope that's enough. Continue on and playing the game.
I don't know. He was really nitpicky about the stuff he threw in here. So much so that
agree
it
with
made
that.
it. No, but I'm saying I don't think he would have overlooked something like that. I think there's a reasoning why this was here. I mean,
Oh
this
no,
is
I agree. There's a reason why. I just don't know
But the
how
pacing is
balanced
off.
or paced out that is. Yeah.
Yeah, the pacing.
I
the
can
pacing
see
is
that.
He paced. The thing is with me, for me at least, he paced those first 3 issues so well, and I'm like, wow, I'm really impressed at how good he's doing at pacing everything and balancing all the emotional beats and all the dialogue beats and all the moments that we need to know while kind of filling in the greater story and setting things up. And then it's kind of like you're driving at 70 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden you hit the brake and you get whiplash. All of a sudden, that's what I felt like. I was like, oh shit, okay, so we're doing this now, Hickman. All right, so I'm pretty sure next week he's going to be driving at 70 miles an hour again, and then we'll probably get another issue where it's whiplash again, and he's just going to hit the brakes because that's his style. That is Hickman's style. He does it for every single book. He did it in Secret Warriors. He did it in Avengers. He did it in Fantastic Four. He does it in every single book. And you know what? I enjoy his stuff, but it is a fault of his, I think. I think he just does not know how to balance this shit out well. And there's nothing wrong with that. Every writer has their faults.
Jess, you did a whole readathon of Hickman.
I did, yeah. Secret Warriors through Secret Wars.
Okay. From that run, if you remember, would you say a lot of it, because it's different reading it in collected editions, and sometimes, I don't know, I think this series was benefiting from reading it in singles, because I would have gone right through that. I don't think I would have been breaking down the timeline of Moira's lives had it been a collected editions, but in the collected editions, because you did it all through Omnis and oversized hardcovers, right? And then the two ultimate trades that he did. Like, what was the pacing like in those books, especially for the shorter series? Like,
I personally found him a lot easier to read in collected editions like Omnibus and the Ultimate books, the Ultimate Comics, Thor, Hawkeye, like that. His Avengers, I know what Lou's talking about. I didn't find it that way in Fantastic Four, but I know what they're saying in Avengers. But I found it. I had no problem with Fantastic Four, but I found that Avengers, if you stopped and didn't immediately go back to it within half a day, you would be absolutely lost and had to go back 40 or so pages and come back to it. There was so much information being loaded into you in both Avengers books that you would be absolutely lost. I didn't feel that way in Fantastic Four or Secret Warriors. But Avengers had a ton of information loaded into it.
well, I remember when we were doing because you joined us for our old reader, new reader, somebody in the comments was like, oh yeah, you got to read Avengers. There was another series that was only available in trade paperback to get the story of the time jump.
The Shield books?
No, it wasn't Shield. It wasn't even a Hickman book. Avengers World.
Oh,
right?
Avengers World, yeah.
And nowhere in that comic did it ever say,
that's right,
go read Avengers World, because it was
how
so
irritating
different.
that was.
That's right. Yeah, Avengers. I totally forgot about Avengers World. Avengers World by Hickman was a good read, but yeah, you did need to read that to understand. Yeah.
So,
but
I guess
I know what these guys are saying. I understand, and I felt that way about Avengers the books.
Okay, so. Do any of you have an X-Men question you want to ask? Not me, but the chat, so I could give something away.
Oh, damn. I was going to ask about Powers of X2.
No,
I'm done with you.
To jump off, actually.
Done with you. Skipping the timeline, you bastard. Dude, if this was a class and you were in my class, I'd be like, get the hell out. Go back to intro to numbers, kid.
Fuck you guys.
All right.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to head off now.
All right, Maddie. Thank you for your input.
Bye, Maddie.
I will see you all in 2 weeks.
Yes. All right. So let's do another round of questions. Lou, do you have a question?
No.
You got
I just
nothing.
I just want this to be over.
It's over. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to talk about Hawk's box. It can be a
Can we talk about
X-Men question.
Carnage, please?
Absolute Carnage. That was
Where he
fun.
punches stuff and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's a lot of fun, but how much? Nah, never mind. I'm not gonna go back into this.
I actually enjoyed it more than this, to be honest.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, I had more fun with it.
It's definitely not as dense as this is, right? Because
No.
I mean, that's the way Hickman is. Like he sets up these things, and
I think this is going to be an awesome read in oversized hardcover.
I agree. I think once it's collected,
Yeah.
I'm gonna revisit this, and once everything is put together, once all the issues come out, I'm gonna go back and reread this, and I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, this flows a lot better.
I think it will.
To me, he reads better in collected editions.
I think so too.
I think it just flows a lot better, and he reads a lot better as one continuous story.
okay, gotcha.
I will say one thing about the art in all these issues is fantastic.
Yes,
The art is gorgeous in all of these issues. Hawks 1-2, Pox 1-2. Beautiful art.
it's Pepe Larraz, and then Powers of 10 is RB Silva, and both they have a very similar style,
Mm-hmm.
and of course that's all put together by what's his name, Marte Gracia, the colorist. Yeah.
Yeah, it's impeccable. It's absolutely beautiful.
All right, time for an X-Men question. I won't make it that hard. Let's see here. So if you've already won, you can't enter again. That's the rule. You also got to be a subscriber. So everybody ready? All right, the first person that can name me all the X-Men characters that have been the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse.
God damn.
Oh, that's easy, dude. You got
Really?
different storylines. Name me any of the X-Men characters that has ever. All I need is 4.
You need 4, right?
Yeah, has been death, war, pestilence, and famine.
You should make it more difficult. Tell them which one it is. Ask them to actually tie it together.
No, that's easier. Or I mean, I'm making it easier for them. I think Craig got it. Storm, yes. Jean. Has Jean been in Apocalypse? What issue was Jean? Has Jean been?
Somebody said Metallica.
Metallica.
What issue was Jean the Horseman of Apocalypse? I can't remember. Is that from the movie? Well, I'm not talking about movie. I'm talking about comics. Because I know.
I'm surprised nobody's gotten it yet.
Do you know it, Lou?
Hell no. God, no.
Thank God. I thought, what? Lou knows this?
No, man.
All right, let's see
Okay,
what we got.
good.
All right, let me see. Who's got these? I like the Archangel's one, I think. Nope, sorry. No Jean. Let me see. There was somebody else that guessed. All right.
You are
See.
killing these people in the chat right now.
That was a good question. It's easy enough. Yep.
Is that the right answer?
See, I'm trying to think if one of those characters I don't think is the right answer. The other 3 are correct, though. 'Cause I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you can prove it to me, you're winning. Who is that said that? Samuel? But I don't think Storm was ever... Horsemen of Apocalypse. But if you can prove me wrong, you're the winner. Let me see what else. You guys wouldn't know.
Question's a bit harder than you thought, huh?
I think it was that hard. I guess it was harder than I thought. My bad.
Dude, we told you.
You said to make it harder. Jubilee. Philip Evans, get out of here, man.
Is that
it's like something Gabe would say.
Okay, Craig is back. Like I said, I don't think Storm has been but like I said, if somebody can prove me wrong. Nightcrawler and Dupe.
Dupe. Oh my god, Dupe is Pestilence. I would love to see that.
All right, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Wolverine, yes. Gambit, yes. Angel, yes. Colossus. I want to say
yes on that.
Yeah, that is right. Okay, I think we have a winner. And this guy needs to get off himself. Cold ball. Let me double check. I think we got a winner. Who was that? He had a Spawn thing, right? I want to double check that there wasn't anybody before him.
Mm-hmm.
You were so close, Craig. I'm so sorry. I'll make the next question easier if that helps.
Oh, jeez.
Where's the guy that had the right answer? I'm trying to find his thing. Who was that? Yep. Okay. Email us at nearmintcon@gmail.com.
I think that was CM2. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
right,
and
cool.
that him and Ben, if you guys can email us at nearmintcon@gmail.com, and we'll tell you what to do next. All right, Jess, you got to ask the next easy question, Pharaoh lad. Don't make it about DC.
I don't know anything about. I'm still a baby in my X-Men education, though. I don't know anything about.
It doesn't matter. Just ask. God bless. Ask what are Cyclops' eyes colors. I don't care. Whatever you want to do.
Who's Cyclops? No, who's Mystique's father?
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Because
God,
it's just a rumor right now. We want
a
rumor, solid information.
There's a rumor that Nightcrawler's parents are actually Mystique and Destiny.
All right.
But
Let's
who's
just
the
appreciate
father?
that Jess is on an X-Men run.
That's right.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Go.
Ask a question from one of those runs that you, or just ask something easy, man. You got this.
Okay.
All right.
Recently, Charles Xavier was determined to be alive. In which run and by what author was he determined to be alive?
What the?
He came back to life. Who wrote it, and in what run was that?
Okay.
That was big.
Like the most recent time that he came back to life is what you want, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
I swear, that is not that easy.
I know the answer. It has to be easy.
I think I told you what happened.
No, I have the book right here. I just have been reading it.
Yeah, because you asked me, "Hey Omar, when does Xavier come back?" And I told you.
Yeah, well, and you said what to order, and I ordered it.
All right, this guy right here got it, and man, if I have to ship this overseas, you're paying for it. that last batch of books, I had to ship one out to
right here, dude.
Denmark. Oh man, that was expensive. All right.
Oh, I bet it was.
That last name sounds Japanese. You might be paying for something.
Yeah, Jess, you're gonna owe me some like $50 to ship that book.
What the hell?
So Sky, please email us nearmintcon@gmail.com, and we'll tell you how to get your books. That is it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Marvel for supplying us with some variant covers to give away. And thank you all for joining us. We'll be doing this every 2 weeks if Jess can make it.
I'll read my timeline.
It's only 2 comics, man. 2 comics. Jeez. I won't break it down like this again, apparently.
No, it was just you just went into space, and I'm like, well, I don't remember reading that.
Read that. I live in Oregon.
See? Oregon.
Yes.
That's part of the continental U.S.
Woo, thank God. But no, thank you very much to David and Marvel for supplying us with these, and this was a lot of fun, man. I'm having fun reading X-Men again, guys. That's amazing. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up, please, if y'all would kindly do so. This was the Uncanny Omar Comics Guide 101. My man, where can people find you where you're not getting lost with me and X-Men knowledge?
You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Comics Guide 101 and on YouTube where I have videos Monday through Friday at Comics Guide 101.
Okay. Adequate show. Thank you very much. I will return. I'll take that.
What grade did we get, Professor?
I was one of those grading people that just freaking failed. All right, Jess, Omnidog, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube on Omnidog's Vault and on Instagram, Omnidogs_Vault.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just put up a video on how to print omnibuses, and I will be having an overview that I'm going to put up on Legion of Superheroes Volume 2, which features the death of Pharaoh Lad. Speaking, really? I swear to God, I did it today. I'm putting it up tomorrow. Death of Pharaoh Lad and the Ghost of Pharaoh Lad. And I'm going to put up an overview of Superman Volume 6, The Golden Age Years.
I really thought you were going to say, I'm going to do a timeline of the 10 lives of Moira. I was going to reach across the internet and strangle the life out of you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This was a lot of fun and educational. So, you all have a good night. And remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint. Yay, Pharaoh Lad. What?
Yeah. Peace and love.